Hello and welcome to episode 65 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. Today on the podcast, I'm talking about the psychology of design and environmental psychology, all of those things that impact us, around us, in our minds and our bodies, and what designers need to be aware of as far as psychology goes with the environment. I'm definitely not an expert. I've just been doing a little research on the topic. I think it's very fascinating. And so I'm sharing with you some of my discoveries. I also think that I am early on into this deep dive of environmental psychology, and I'm looking for some kind of through line, some kind of cheat sheet, as it were, that can help us all understand the basics of what we need to know when we go into design. As I say in the episode, that a lot of us come to it intuitively. And so that's probably part of the reason why you're here. You're curious about design because you're curious about how the environment affects a person and you've taken notice of it before. And you'll hear me talk in the episode about a personal experience of how my home affected my own psyche and mental health. And maybe you've had a similar experience and you've noticed how your home does have an effect on your mental health. All right, before we get into the episode, I want to remind you I have that fun quiz on what type of designer you should be. I have 4 answers that you could discover. It's a quick little quiz, so go and take that. The links are in the show notes, as well as I've got some freebie downloads for you on the 3 things I wish I had known before I started my career in interior design, as well as the roadmap to interior design. So you can get all of those in the show notes. Check that out. Now let's talk a little bit more about environmental psychology. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. So, environmental psychology, or the psychology of design, could be a full semester course that you can take, and they do, in fact, teach it at many universities. So if it's something that you definitely want to learn a lot more about, you can maybe sign up for a course at your local university. Or I am also providing a lot of resources in the show notes, a few TED Talks, a great video that was put out by Southwest on design, psychology, basically how psychologists and designers and architects need to have more conversations about how the built environment affects our psyche, the things that we put in it and around ourselves, points a lot to our personality as well as our health and safety and well-being. And so that kind of brings me to one of the things I was going to talk about today is if you've ever taken a psychology class, you will have come across Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a pyramid that has 5 different levels. The base foundation level is physiological needs. So shelter is one of the basic fundamental needs every human being has, the need for shelter. So that is just basically 4 walls around you, something to keep you safe from the elements. And we can take our built environment, our homes, our office buildings through this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And where an interior designer really wants to be is at the very top in the self-actualization. But it's important to understand that, first of all, you're meeting one of the basic physiological needs by having a home, by working in a home. The next level is safety and security, and that's where you're going to be having the health issues come in. So you want to make sure that the air inside the home is clean and that you have clean water and that you have sanitation and things like that. Things that are healthy and safe for you and your family and anyone living within that home, that it's secure so that you can sleep at night. The next level up from that is love and belonging. So that is where you can nurture friendships and family and have intimacy and a sense of connection within your home. Like your home becomes a place, not only it's keeping you safe from the elements outside, not only is it secure, but now you can start focusing on the people around you and your relationship with those people. It provides a safe space. It provides room for you to connect with others. And then the next level up is self-esteem. And so here's where the need to be a unique individual really shows up, and starting to show up in the interior designer's role is that we're creating the home not only to meet all of those lower needs, but also this one of self-esteem that is unique and individual to the homeowner, that it gives them confidence as they go into their day, a sense of accomplishment, that it earns the respect of others by having a home that is truly theirs, that looks like them, that is their personality, that maybe exhibits their travels, things they're interested in, colors that they love, materials that they love. And it might be here at this level that I found issue with the state of my house this last year. I don't recall if I spoke about this on the podcast, but back in February of this year, the line from the wall to the toilet that delivers clean water into the toilet, it has a plastic nut that connects with the toilet. And I think this was original to our house. It was the bathroom upstairs. At the top of the stairs is my kids' bathroom. And so since the house is about 25 years old, this plastic has worn down over time. It decided to bust in the middle of the night around, I think it was probably 2:00 in the morning. I had woken up and heard water sounds, and I thought maybe it was the white noise, like maybe my husband turned on a white noise machine or something like that. So I went back to sleep. I wake up a little bit later and it's still going, and it doesn't sound like it's in our room. So I wake up, I start walking towards the door, and it's getting louder. And so all my thoughts are racing. It's the middle of the night. I'm not thinking clearly, but I step out of our room into the landing area and it is wet. There is water all over the carpet. Then I walk towards the bathroom where the sound's getting louder, and there's water gushing out of the wall, hitting the ceiling. Everything is wet. The floor has an inch or two of water, and I just was in shock. I go over and turn the water off at the wall. Luckily, that stopped it all. But then I'm sitting here with a house full of water upstairs. It's probably been going for a couple hours, and it's starting to seep out from the bathroom onto the landing, out into our loft, and the areas in front of the bedrooms. And my dog was sleeping out there in her kennel, and I don't know why she didn't wake up and tell us, but here we are with water in our house. And so we had to get it all, the water mitigation out there, and get it all dried out. And then they had to do the repairs. And so I had to do this project not through my standard methods. We went through the insurance, everything had to get approved. So we used the insurance contractor, not my usual contractor. Even the materials and everything is just totally different process. And because of insurance holdups and things like that, our house was torn apart for 8 months. So we had plywood floors upstairs and on the stairs, and the garage was torn out. There, like all the sheetrock had to come out of the garage. There's half walls. Sheetrock had to come down halfway up the wall in the upstairs loft. So there's exposed walls as soon as you walk upstairs, plus you're walking on plywood. And this was really deteriorating for our mental health, because you can live with this for a little time and you think it's going to get resolved. And by the time May rolled around, we're like, okay, why isn't this happening? What's going on? And then we had to contact our insurance, get a new adjuster. Then they had to get the check approved. Then there's issues with all of the money stuff. So of course, then we added on a little bit. I had always wanted to have the floors downstairs redone. And then we had to do the carpet upstairs, but the insurance only covered up to the bedrooms where the water didn't go into. And of course, I want the carpet to match in the bedrooms as out in the loft. So we had to pay for that. So then we had all these add-ons that we had to get approved and things like that. So the whole process took 10 months to get it done. And we've been living with a house torn apart. And my husband and I both had moments where we just kind of couldn't handle it anymore because our house was so disorderly, so unsupportive to us and how we want to live. The kids could not use the play loft, which is really critical for them. And we couldn't host and entertain, which is something that we love to do, have people over. And so it was a really challenging year for us mentally because of all of this that was going on. So I can firsthand testify to the fact that your house has a huge effect on your mental health and your psyche and how you're ready for the day. I just felt defeated as soon as I woke up every day because this house was not making any progress for months and months. And it was not looking like I wanted to do. It did not feel like my home. So that was a really great example of how my clients might feel in a house that is not supporting them as well as just going through this whole process. And so now I'm recommending, if you can at all avoid living through the remodel, please do. Please move out, go to Airbnb, work it into your budget because you do not want to be living in a torn apart house. It just really is hard on the family. I mean, I think our kids are a little more resilient to it, but my husband and I just could not handle it. We flow in and out of snapping. I'm like, I can't handle this house anymore. Now it's all put back together. It looks lovely. We've had many parties. The kids are up in the loft playing with all of their friends. So it's been great. And it just really shows now that how supportive our house had been and now continues to be, that it's put back together and now it looks even better. And there is a great firsthand example for you on how your home can affect your mental health. All right, let's continue on. The topmost level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-actualization. And this encompasses creativity, acceptance, purpose, meaning, and inner potential. And this is where I love to really think about for my clients is that one of my mottos for my business is purpose, beauty, and inspiration. So I definitely need my clients' homes to be purposeful for them, that they have a sense of purpose as they're within their home, but also that it's functioning well for them and that it's helping them reach their inner potential, because growth is another thing for me that I want other people to have as much inner growth as possible. And I believe that the home is a way that can support this. And it can also nurture their own creativity. Every person is creative and they need to have a place to experience their own creativity. So that is kind of, in a quick nutshell, the psychology of why home is so important. Of course, any building also is this for work environments, hospitals, and things like that. But the home is definitely meeting Maslow's hierarchy of needs through all of these aspects. So some of the other resources that I'm giving to you talk a lot about understanding how the environment affects a person is something that definitely comes intuitively to a lot of interior designers. Oftentimes we become interior designers because we're sensitive to the built environment around us affecting our mood or our health, our mental health, our physical health, our productivity. One example in one of the videos is a wing of a hospital where patients had the same kind of surgery and they were put in recovery rooms. On one side of the hallway, the recovery rooms faced out to the trees in the park down below. You could see the sky, but definitely could see greenery and trees. And then the other side of the hallway, the rooms faced another building. So you just saw brick and windows of another building across the way. And they noticed that the people who were in the rooms that faced the outside, that they could see the environment outside and trees and nature, that they were healing much more quickly than the people who were in the rooms facing the brick building. And so that's just a small way and one of many examples of how your environment might subconsciously, without even you realizing it, have an effect on your health and well-being. And so that's why now there's a lot of looking into well spaces to make sure that your environment is supporting you in every way possible. So that's one way you can do it. And I can put a link to well certification if that's something that you're interested in. But just being aware of the psychology of the environment around us is really important. And there is a textbook I will put a link to as well. If maybe you can't sign up for a class, but you want to get some of the information all in one place, I can put a link to that on Amazon. You can get it, but it is a textbook, so it's not going to be an easy read. I was trying to see if there's maybe out there some course, like a digital course someone's put together to help you kind of understand design psychology. I haven't come across it yet. So if you find one, let me know. But I think that this topic is really, really interesting. And like I said, a lot of designers come to it intuitively. But another thing that was said in one of these videos is that, yes, it's intuitive for a lot of architects and designers to understand the environment affects a person, but we don't all agree on the way the designs are. So if one designer is following their intuition and another designer is following their intuition, we need a cheat sheet. So I will continue to do my research, but I wanted to impart to those who are really just looking to get into the career, which is what this podcast is about, to be aware of this topic. And as I explore and dig a little deeper, I will bring to you any useful resources or information that I might find on it. But let's circle back to this because it's really good to talk about the relationship between the designer and the client and how the product that we're producing is a big responsibility. So I spent a lot of time actually, I was doing some research for this episode. There was just a lot of information out there that I didn't even want to make this a very long episode. I just kind of want to touch the tip of the iceberg and give you the links that you can do the more research yourself. The TED Talks are really very interesting, and the videos that I share, one of them is a podcast as well. A lot of them are geared more towards the work environment as employers are trying to look for getting the most productivity out of their employees and helping to nurture the most creativity and collaboration, or if the person needs to focus what's the best environment for that person. But I think, as a residential designer, that all of this can easily extrapolate into residential design, and there's really no need to delineate between residential, commercial, hospitality, spatial experience design when you're studying the psychology of design and environmental psychology. So take a look at that. Like I said, I'll probably come back to this as I dig a little deeper and do a little more research and find some more resources for you guys. But please do share with me. Reach out into my DMs on Instagram at @OurWordDesign. If you have a resource that you really like on this topic, I would love to know it too. Don't forget about my Design Mentor. It's a great time to get in there and get your career started. And in there, we do talk a little bit more about this psychology of design as well as psychology of clients and personalities and all of that. So if that's a topic that interests you, we talk about that in my Design Mentor. I'd love to see you there. All right, that's it for this week. Until next time, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, ourworddesign.com, or email me at podcast@ourworddesign.com.